topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Churchill said, "Those who fail to learn from history are condemned to repeat it." Kevin Hallinan believes that certainly applies to business. Welcome to Winning Business Radio, here at W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. And now, your host, Kevin Hallinan.
Thanks, everybody, for joining in again today. I am Kevin Hallinan, and welcome back to Winning Business TV and Radio on W4CY.com. We're streaming live on Talk4TV.com. And, of course, we're on Facebook, and that's at Winning Business Radio. And we're available in podcast after this live show today on tons of platforms, pretty much wherever you listen and watch your podcast content. YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, and the list goes on. The mission of Winning Business Radio and TV, as regular viewers and listeners know, is to offer insights and advice to help people avoid the mistakes of others, to learn best practices. Those are the how-tos, the what-tos, the what-not-tos, right? To be challenged and hopefully to be inspired by the successes of others. Those are consultants, coaches, advisors, authors, founders, and owners, entrepreneurs, people with expertise. But, virtually every successful person I've ever had a chance to talk to has had some form of failure in their lives and careers. So every week I say, we all have to get our knees skinned once in a while. I'm driven to keep those scrapes from needing major surgery. Let's endeavor to learn from history so we don't repeat it. I've spent the better part of my career equipping businesses to grow, from solopreneurs to small and medium-sized companies all the way up to the Fortune 50. I've seen some of those companies win, and to varying degrees, I've seen some fail. I've had the opportunity to rub our elbows, with some of the highest performing people around and with some who probably should have found other professions. In my own businesses, I've had a lot of success, can't talk today, but some failures too. I like to think I've learned a lot from those experiences. So, of course, you're going to hear from me, some insights and opinions, but more importantly, you're going to hear from experts, those consultants, coaches, advisors, authors, founders, and owners, and entrepreneurs. Today, my guest is Erenstoft. He's the CEO and Chief Performance Officer of E3 Capital Partners and ElevateID.org. So he's no exception. Here's his bio. Erenstoft is the CEO and Chief Performance Officer of E3 Capital Partners and ElevateID.org. He's an accomplished executive coach, consultant, and facilitator, and best-selling author and creator of the Conscious Intelligence platform. By applying the principles of catalytic leadership and radical unlearning to peak performance, Eric guides organizations and their leaders in all business sectors, from finance to technology, law firms to healthcare, distribution and manufacturing, women-owned businesses, entrepreneurs to solopreneurs. For over 25 years, Eric has guided clients to optimize their human resource through core competency identification and development, by teaching positivity and catalytic skills, and by applying conscious candor, advanced communication, and transformational leadership. Eric is an expert in resolving conflict, stuckness, and challenges related to rapid growth, scaling, shifting roles, and key performance indicators. An expert in organizational communication, company culture, empowering women in business, generational and cultural diversity, DEI, and employee retention, Eric delivers meaningful and profitable results and removes the multitudes of impediments leaders and their organizations to be challenged with. As CEO of E3 Capital Partners, Eric provides fully licensed financial consultancy services, including real estate brokerage, banking, correspondent services, and expert witness and litigation support services. Additionally, wholesale lending and underwriting, management, investment syndication, purchase and acquisition, and listing and sales. Eric has worked in and called 6 different countries home. He's had a diverse background, including 27 years as a paramedic first responder with the LA County Fire Department and the Laguna Beach Fire Department. He's a decorated competitive open water swimmer, is a martial artist. He's a yoga and aerial and mediation meditation Eastern arts practitioner. And on top of that, he's a world adventure traveler. He holds a BS in sports medicine and business from Pepperdine University and additional studies in business, marketing, and related support services from UCLA. His independent studies have included world culture, mythology, philosophy, and psychology. He grew up in Newport Beach, California, where he currently resides. That's a mouthful. Eric, welcome to Winning Business Radio.
That is that was quite a bio. Thank you for having me.
Of course. We appreciate you being here. I know you're busy. So you've got that extremely, to me, interesting background. We'll keep it easy. Tell us about Newport Beach for those that are not familiar with Southern California.
Well, Newport Beach, Southern California is a dream to live in. It's coastal. I grew up near the water. I grew up in the water, and I swam outdoors all year round. Still do. Even when it's bad weather and it's raining, we're still swimming outside because it's only 65. So it's a great place to grow up, to be a kid. Lots of activity, lots of health and fitness, and ways to go out, and beautiful nature. Lots to do.
Sounds like it. So fast forward a little bit. Why'd you choose Pepperdine and to go into, at the time, sports medicine?
Well, I was on the path to become an orthopedic surgeon, and Pepperdine had the only pre-med program called sports medicine. Being a lifelong athlete, I wanted to do, instead of biology and parasitology and all these science stuff that is non-human performance, Pepperdine was offering the only program that was about human performance pre-med. UCLA soon thereafter came up with a kinesiology major, and similar to sports medicine. And now there's several universities. So that's how I landed at Pepperdine. It remained in Southern California, just out of in Los Angeles County, and a smaller university, but like I said, tops in the sports medicine program.
But you, at some point early on, you pivoted more into business. So talk about that. I don't know if we'd call it a transition or maybe a different way of thinking.
Yeah. As I deferred med school, finished Pepperdine, deferred med school, had the opportunity to work and live abroad, and took that opportunity, both by advice to say, take a year off before you jump into med school. You've been going to school for 17 years straight. Your brain's exhausted. And so I took that opportunity and started making a ton of money working in business, in the marketing and advertising industry, and living and working in other countries. And it was amazing. So 1 year turned into 4 or 5 years. Yeah. And in that period of time, I was able to sort of gracefully say, you know what, even though medicine is one of my interests, I think I'm moving in a different direction. And having been a first responder and paramedic with the fire department, especially swift water respond team, that kind of gave me the bellies full of that area of medical service that was satisfying to me, and I peacefully exited the med school tract.
Makes sense. So this is a little less sexy, but you started your career in publishing. Tell us about that experience or those experiences.
In publishing, publishing is a little bit, okay, there's different areas of publishing.
Yeah, a little broad. Yeah.
Advertising and marketing, sales. So I was building strategic partnerships between media company and different clients like Toyota, Apple.
That was at Disney then, right?
Yeah, and then landed at Disney from there, and which allowed me to do that on a very sweeping commercial level. And where I was literally, when you see Apple or Toyota or Lexus or Budweiser or any of the, involved with Disney productions or the Disney, multitude of what that company is, I was working on the partnerships that allowed those to happen. A Toyota at a theme park, or in the pages of advertising magazines at the millions of hotel rooms around Tokyo or other Disney parks, or think about the film, Disney, Miramax, Touchstone, ESPN, ABC, you have Disney Radio, like we're on right now is radio, not Disney Radio. And of course, events and parks and everything that only Disney can do. So it was pretty extraordinary opportunity to be able to go pitch Toyota or go pitch the major agencies, Saatchi and Chiat and create these packages that only I could, that Disney could collaborate with to do that. So,
and some serious brands, name brands, household brands. Toyota,
it generated millions and millions of dollars for Disney, but it also generated opportunities for, what advertising and marketing and strategic partnerships really do is it gets eyeballs on consumers of these Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies that want to launch a product or want to get their brand better known. And Disney had both family brand, but it also has early adopters and high technology demographics as well. So it's a very powerful population of audience for these different name brands, these big brands.
So this is probably the hardest question you'll have, and I'll ask you this a couple of times. What are no, not at all. What are maybe one or two, even one is fine, key lesson learned from that experience working with Disney and big brands?
Wow, yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is Disney is, as a Fortune 100 company, it's a big company. It is an incredible company, but as a big bureaucratic, multi-dimensional company, its strength is its weakness too. And there was a lot of challenges. I was running teams. I was headquartered at the corporate headquarters in Burbank, but my actual report to my CEO was in New York. So it was great to run an entrepreneurial office in the headquarters. But what happens is with any bureaucracy, it's really challenging when and this is really where the running teams in a bigger organization and problems and communication and all the things that you will start to talk about in consulting and coaching, being able to effectively communicate and be peak productive. Those tools really became the biggest lesson: how to communicate, who to communicate with, how to convince people. I had to also, by the way, by doing these by going into Touchstone or ABC, I had to be a synergist and actually a diplomat, go into these other divisions. I was in the consumer products division, go into the TV division, go, hey, they're like, who the hell are you? And actually sell them on, hey, we have a program we need to bring you in on. And they're like, they already have their plate full. So the
internal selling.
Yes. Very powerful to consensus build and to build a team to success, to be able to perform for our clients as well. So that was a huge lesson in a Fortune 100 company and an opportunity like Disney, which absolutely was a gift to work with.
Yeah. Anybody that ever, yes, any company, especially the big ones, have their pitfalls, as you said, but the experience at Disney, I've never talk to anybody, and I've talked to a bunch that have worked there one way or the other. They've all benefited greatly from the experience,
Certainly.
So last question before the first commercial, not a small question either, so take a minute or two, but all that time overlapped the ocean rescue response.
Yeah.
Because that was 27 years. You don't stop everything else to do that.
Right.
So talk about how you did that concurrently.
So as a waterman, I grew up swimming. I played competitive water polo. I was on the national junior team, which was the feeder team into the national team, the Olympic team for water polo. And in training, one day we came to the pool deck and there were some people standing there and said, how would you like to get paid to do this? Well, this was high school.
Pretty good place to recruit though, right?
Yeah, well, your friends are working at McDonald's drive-through getting minimum wage, and they're like, how would you like to make 4 times that? And by the way, your office has a ocean view, and you're saving lives for a living while you're out in the sun. And we said, and by the way, you're already qualified by being able to be absolutely sinkless in your ability to swim and navigate the ocean. And I said, sign me, so a number of my colleagues and I signed up and we became ocean lifeguards, which turned into ocean rescue response. And we did the boat, the beach, the unit, and paramedic training and all kinds of, we got certified in scuba and search and recovery. And now we have a career school, everything. Well, that became a seasonal thing. And then when I actually got into corporate America, I was able to take on hours, a minimum amount of hours per year to stay certified and to stay active. There's no such thing as volunteers, so you're paid. You're just not full-time schedule, and I kept that up. I found more for public service at that point. I was serving. You're interacting with the public. You're saving lives, and you're making a difference. And I was actually at that point donating the money that I would earn back to things like ocean conservation and other things. So I was able to do my public service while still being a first responder, keeping my certifications. And of course, these organizations like LA County Fire Department are honored to serve. Yep.
I love that. Love hearing that. All right. We're going to take our first break. Eric will be right back. Everybody, we're going to be back in about 1 minute with Eric Erenstoft.
You're listening to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan on W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. Don't go away. More helpful information is coming right up, right here on Winning Business Radio.
Have you ever dreamt of being on the radio? Well, now is your chance. Be a radio show guest on the #1 ranked internet radio station and promote you and your business for free. Yes, you heard it, free. Business advertising right here on W4CY.com. Call 561-506-4031 now to get booked on one of our shows. That's 561-506-4031. Get your free advertising now.
And now back to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan, presenting exciting topics and expert guests with one goal in mind: to help you succeed in business. Here once again is Kevin Hallinan.
We are back with Eric Erenstoft, CEO and Chief Performance Officer of E3 Capital Partners and ElevateID.org. So I want to get into martial arts. Not me personally. I probably should have done that. Would have been fun. But your martial artistry, if you can say it that way, you practice in multiple disciplines, and I'll just read these off for the audience: Tai Chi Chuan, Krav Maga, and current ongoing training. I don't even know what this means for Shodan in Aikido.
Black belt.
Black belt. Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved in martial arts? And I know there's a tie-in. We're going to get to that tie-in. You can lead us into that if you want. How does that apply to what you do today?
Everything.
Yeah.
Eastern philosophy. I first of all, I was always enamored and fascinated with the Japanese culture, the Eastern philosophies and cultures. And one of those countries that I was able to work and live in those 6 countries was Japan, and which was a life experience for me, working and living within the culture. The martial arts are just an application of that culture. Eastern philosophy, you think of Zen, you think of the ability to perform in high pressure situations and conduct yourself, the warrior mentality, and being able to have situational awareness. It was a way for, not only to defend yourself, but it's an art, a martial, but it's also art, just like the yogic arts and the aerial arts and the other arts that I did. So yeah, defending myself, but it's really powerful in personal sovereignty and personal development, where we learn that with much power comes much responsibility, and your ability to wield such power is also about being able to help and protect people. And those disciplines are absolutely applicable to the highest levels of living as a human being. So they're very powerful when taught and when understood and learned as broadly as that. And yeah, in terms of, between my being a first responder with the fire department and martial arts, really has to do with, performing well in high pressure situations.
Yeah, spontaneity.
Sound familiar?
Yeah.
Being able to conduct yourself optimally when circumstances are not optimal, and how to conduct ourselves and keep calm while all around you are losing their head and blaming you.
Yeah, and the rescue doesn't happen, a few minutes after lunch, after we've had a break, right?
Exactly. I mean, here's a situation, ready, go. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I need to respond because everybody else is walking the other way or saying somebody else will take care of it. Well, I'm the guy that stops and takes care of it and has to respond to it. So, of course, those are in my coaching and consulting. Those are skills to be able to not only perform optimally in high pressure situations, but understand how to there's a lot of self control and self discipline and ability to really focus in situations that are that are not optimal. So of course, being an athlete, being a first responder, being a martial artist, these all serve that to that ability, even whether you're in the boardroom or out in the world.
So this is like a chicken or egg scenario I'm seeing. It's like did all these things prepare you for what you do, or was it the other way around?
Well, I think Steve Jobs said you don't really see all the pattern of the dots until you look back and see look in the past and see how the dots, you connect all the dots and they make sense looking backwards, but now looking forward. I think that my upbringing, my life, my experiences, my world experiences, evidently, hopefully you're discovering, created a very unique human being that's talking to you right now with a unique background of combination of experiences from, Disney to paramedic to martial artist to lifelong athlete to best-selling author of a conscious intelligence platform. So I don't know. I'm me, and there's a lot. Whether it's connecting with people out in the, when you're dealing with emergencies, there are people that are anything from shootings where we're responding in Venice to drownings to people panicking and in situations that they don't know what to do, and you have to not only try to save lives, but you also have to preserve your own, get someone out of danger, and save lives while trying to keep people at bay and calm them down because the scene. Think about the scene. So was I just describing your workplace or somebody else's workplace? Right? I mean, what's the difference? There isn't a distinction really in the skills that we use and the communication skills, in the ability to communicate with ourselves and process circumstances in such a way to perform optimally.
Well, we're going to get to the two businesses in just a couple of minutes here. I want to ask about the adventure travel. How did you get into that, and what are some of the things you've seen and places you've been?
I love to travel, and one of the, first of all, ever since I was the young kid, my curiosity was over the top. I always wanted to. I had an incessant hunger to learn. I was probably that annoying kid. I was the annoying kid that sat close to the front of that room and the first name that the teacher learned, because I was learning everything and asking questions and more questions. Well, if this, then why this? Well, if this, then why this? They're like, oh my God, go, let's get this kid.
So, in somebody else's class.
So my incessant hunger to learn and curiosity. As far as being an open water competitive athlete, that's one of the ways that I find races, and I race and compete all over the world. So that allows me to travel to race. And while I'm doing that, I'm swimming Alcatraz, to swimming the Maui Channel, to swimming, Bondi to Bronte in Australia and all over the world. There's other adventures that I do, Cape Town, South Africa, and going out, surfing Jeffreys Bay. I'm physical and I'm active. So I'm not one of those people that I might go to Hawaii, but I'm not going to sit on the beach all day sucking down Mai Tais. I'll have a Mai Tai later after I do a nice surf or a ocean swim or a hike in Haleakala or something like that. So I just am an active person by nature and love to learn and interact with nature. And there's just so much to see in this world. And I feel like it's almost fear of missing out. It's like, what's my next? I want to go see this. I want to go swim with whale sharks. Where are they living right now? Where are they migrating? So I do that.
All right. So for those watching and listening, there is a tie-in here, and we're about to get there. So two companies that you run. Tell us first about E3 Capital Partners.
E3 Capital Partners is a financial services company. We work primarily around real estate and finance. And so we've been working with anything from multi-general wealth families to working with trust and estate attorneys that have conflict. Again, there's that word conflict. It'll come up over and over, where I can bring solutions, financial solutions to problems in order to resolve issues and to get people to settle. That's a lot more in the financial services company. In elevated.org, I know you call it Elevate ID. It's spelled that way.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. No, it's spelled that way, but it's Elevated. ID stands for the invisible distinctions, which are the distinctions within the conscious intelligence paradigm that I delineate in the book. That is a coaching and consulting, executive coaching consulting company, and I work with top level executives around conflict, among other things. There's usually through role shifts or rapid growth, change causes conflict. That's the human circumstance. Whenever we for some reason we resist change, even though it's for the better, and because it's challenging and it gets us out of our comfort zones. There's breakdowns around communication and around other things that and our biases and all kinds of things that create that conflict and challenge. And so I work with executives to get to the next level and to fulfill their highest and best expression of themselves in their organization. So we do that. There's methodology around that, but it's around the conscious intelligence paradigm. And with the coaching and consulting really has to do with understanding how businesses operate, and coaching really has to do with people. So there are people in every organization. So you can have functional issues, but there's also interaction and chemistry within someone, and the connective tissue are the people within an organization. So if you're able to work with both of those parameters, which a lot of people are either a coach or a consultant, then I think that there's some perspective that kind of is my unique value proposition.
So who are some of the not naming names, but what are some of the type of companies that you might work with?
Yeah, anything from the solopreneur, entrepreneur, all the way to within principals in larger companies. They're high achievers. They're powerhouses that are rising up every day with lofty goals, and they're the heads of company, or they're within the C-suite role. Being a leader, and I am an active CEO, so that's another thing. I'm a peer to them. I'm in the trenches with them.
Which we talked about briefly earlier. That's unusual.
Yeah.
It gives you a rare perspective.
But here's the perspective that I see with these leaders. They feel isolated because think about it. You have to have the answer to everything as the CEO of your company. And you don't. If you're innovating, if you're a disruptor, there's no answers. You're creating those answers sometimes.
And if you're being honest.
If you're being honest, but it's hard to turn into your company and actually say to somebody, I don't know what I'm doing. It makes you look weak. It makes you, so they don't do it. So where do you go? Well, you need a peer advisor that you could exhale to, and that can help guide you.
Great word.
So that you don't have to turn inward or somewhere that's going to expose, if that's the idea that you're trying to avoid, those challenges. And so we can work within that conflict. So you're a leader who is coachable, but also one that is understanding that there's challenges with different people around you, but you're the common denominator. So we're going to be working on you too. And that's not a bad thing. So the accountability factor is the biggest factor in being able to bring you to peak performance and to keep you highly achieving and getting you to the next level, so to speak. So, all
right, that's a good place to pause. We're going to take one more break. We'll be back in about 1 minute with Eric Erenstoft.
You're listening to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan on W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. Don't go away. More helpful information is coming right up, right here on Winning Business Radio.
The YP.com website is your local search engine. If you're looking for a good restaurant, it can help you find the right one nearby with ratings and reviews. Or if your car breaks down, you can use the YP app to find the closest repair shop. Or maybe you're just looking for something to do on a Friday night. Well, it has great local coupons for all sorts of things in your area. No matter what, when, or where, if you're looking for something, YP Local Search can help you find it. So go to yp.com or download the app to search local, find local, and save local.
And now back to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan, presenting exciting topics and expert guests with one goal in mind, to help you succeed in business. Here once again is Kevin Hallinan.
We're back with Eric Erenstoft. He is the CEO and Chief Performance Officer of E3 Capital Partners and Elevated.org. Got it. So talk about, and I want you to talk about the book here, best-selling author of Conscious Intelligence. It's a concept or series of concepts, a paradigm that you developed. Talk about the book a little bit, but let's talk about how that shows up in the work you do.
Yeah, so Conscious Intelligence, it took me 10 years. And if I knew it was going to take 10 years, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So I identified this initial challenge was, why is there so much conflict in this world? Why is there so much division and divisiveness? Why is there so much blame? I mean, it's funny that we see this toxic environment magnified in the last 4, 6, 8 years.
Yeah.
This concept came actually before any of that, but there was still a lot of that going on. And sort of like an excavation, I started peeling back. There's a distinction. I started to identify these different. There's a distinction between miscommunication and disagreement. You cannot disagree if you're not even communicating. Look into that for a second. We can go. Wow. I could do a 3-day lecture just on that distinction alone. But what I started peeling back was, well, then why is there miscommunication? There's all kinds of distinctions within communication, within ourselves, with other people, with the definitions of certain terms that we conflate. And what happens is when you don't have a vocabulary, I'll use the vocabulary, but a spectrum of choices in which to be able to articulate yourself and to articulate challenges, when that is shrunk down, you have less choices and you tend to make bad decisions. If you only had the choice between chocolate and vanilla ice cream, you're going to pick one or the other. But if you knew that there was 1,000 other flavors, you might find one that you like better than one of those. Why not understand? And that's, if I was going to define conscious intelligence in one word, it would be capital P, perspective, which is perspective. And that is a whole universe of wisdom within itself. To be able to have perspective and understanding of what's happening in your circumstances, whether that's out and around you, whether that's with other people, or the circumstances that are going on in your own self. So self with a capital S. So that's conscious intelligence. And it is an entire paradigm, and it's organized in such a way where it starts within our personal, and it goes into elevated, something that's bigger than ourselves. And there are many distinctions out in that area as well. And when you gain mastery over these distinctions, you will not look at the world the same way ever again. And that's not a bad thing, because you will be seeing it. You'll know when you have your bias glasses on, because we all have opinions. We all see and develop our own opinions, but the ability to authentically be able to remove those and see perspective with the capital P and understand which perspective you're in is very powerful, because a lot of times we try to teach or we try to say something where we think it's like universal, but it's really, no, you're looking through your lens. Yeah. And that is a cause of breakdown. So that's one of the concepts.
So this may be an unfair question. If it is, tell me, how long does it take you to get a person or a team to that point?
So good question. And I love to integrate your work too, because we overlap. You know what? I think it takes 3 to 6 months to really get them up to cruising altitude, in which case because look, as you know, there's a curve at the beginning where you have to understand the environment. You have to understand the person. You have to get in, and because someone's going to come with you with the problem, with the challenge, but it's usually not the challenge. Yeah, it's just it's the leaf of a deeper root issue that you want to address. And when you start doing that, you start identifying a lot of different branches and leaves that are sort of from that poisonous fruit, so to speak, or that challenge. So 3 to 6 months, and then the idea is to ongoing, because if you are continuing to be an achiever and growing and scaling and everything, then you're going to reach new challenges and you're going to have a new conversation and have to continue to evolve. So, but really 3 to 6 months is if any says, what do you do? How much do you charge per hour, or can we just do a 1 or 3 sessions? I'm going to say, I'm not for you.
I do the same.
And Kevin, just to integrate what you do, I'm looking at a 30,000 foot view, and I'm working with CEOs on a broad number of issues. If there's a sales team that is a challenge, there's a sales team that a CEO is running, along with a marketing team, along with an HR team. But when it's going specifically into sales and performance, that is I'm bringing you in. That is your strong suit, and you're going to absolutely amplify and address the challenges and get them going to perform. So we overlap in that way, and there's nobody better at working in the sales space than you and Sandler. So it's great to give you a plug, and also
thank you.
So
I appreciate that
perspective.
So there's a quote that was on your website, or is on your website, and I just loved it. It says, "We cannot always control our circumstances, but we can control how we conduct ourselves within them. When we conduct ourselves optimally, we're said to have grace, we're said to have mastery, we're said to be accessing conscious intelligence." You want to expand on that? I mean, that's powerful right there.
It is powerful, and it is one of the sort of themes of my life in what I try to live into. Have you ever seen a first responder or in a disaster where they look like they're going and they're looking like they're breathing normally, they're walking with grace and ease, while everybody around them are running around with their heads cut off, and you see this person walking right in, doing what they need to do, getting control of the situation? That is the epitome vision of what that quote is. It is that we cannot control you see a tornado coming, you can't control that tornado, but seeing it coming, you can control yourself, and you can control what's happening. I can get
your actions, your emotions, your thought process.
Right. It's like, that's happening. I can't control that, so I'm not going to waste any energy controlling it, but I can. And there's another distinction within conscious intelligence: reacting versus responding. A knee-jerk reaction would be, there's a tornado, let's panic. And that's what you see 99% of the world doing, is panicking. And then you see the 1% of people who are responding. They're like, okay, all right, here we go. And we lean into it, and we know what we can do. And it doesn't mean that you're going to keep the tornado from running through the house. Maybe your house is destroyed, but we're not defined by our house. Right. We're not defined by the destruction that happens within that environment. We are defined by who we are inside. And even understanding that distinction within that allows us to better understand who we are, and not how we're defined by others or by outside reactionary things that are happening. So there's a sense of identity that also grounds you and roots you down. And getting to that in a person and seeing their eyes light up with that personal sovereignty and understanding,
that's a great term.
Is a very powerful concept. Yep.
So you talk about learning. What about unlearning, another concept you teach?
Radical unlearning. Yes. We, in a nutshell, I think if you think of a computer, you think of a hard drive, you think of software, you think of hardware, like the computer system itself. You are the computer system. You can't really change much of that. Your upbringing, your socioeconomic, your religion. So you can change those things, but not when you were 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, your developmental stages. You're sort of pre-wired. But then there's software things that we've learned, and the choices that we've made, and the vision that we look through, and we don't realize sometimes the choices that we have. And the idea is to understand what things we've been trained to do, like scream when somebody scares you, or flinch and move backwards when someone's throwing a punch at you, when maybe leaning in might be a safer place to go. But we are taught certain responses, and some of those things need to be untrained. Especially, you hear someone raising their voice. Well, are they angry, or are they just Italian or Jewish.
Excited.
Right? Yeah, excited
Yeah.
and passionate. They're
Yeah.
using their hands.
Yeah.
If somebody is raising their voice, do they have a medical condition, or are they, so understanding the situation and being able to unlearn those reactive things. There's certain things. Someone's been victimized. There's a lot of reasons why someone will react. They'll panic.
Trauma. Yeah.
Trauma is something that we have to unlearn if we are going to heal from it and to prevail over it. And there's a distinction within that. Survive. There's victim, survivor, and then what I call prevailing. Because even if you're a survivor, you're still on that paradigm of victimization. So you haven't eliminated. So those are distinctions that once you understand the power of being able to look in a different perspective at our circumstances, we can then unlearn the stuff that limits us and that may make us make bad decisions. If you're starting to drown, you start to paddle really fast and panic. Is that the right thing to do? Or can I teach you to unlearn and say, if you actually just relax and hold, and you can float without putting any effort in, and you can control your breathing,
save your
slow
energy,
down, save your energy, and you can actually keep in your head and look for a way to get out of the situation. So yeah, radical unlearning. Unlearning is just as powerful as learning, especially when we've learned. And look today, look at the misinformation, disinformation, and stuff that's going around. If you don't have the tools, the distinctions to be able to go, wait a second, I just caught that you said this, it wasn't false, but there was no context. And that context is completely misleading. And that kind of thing. So it's in language, it's in
facts versus
life.
Truth.
What's that?
Facts versus truth.
Yeah, lying by omission is still lying. And in communication, sometimes we do that intentionally and they're using it and exploiting it. Sometimes we don't know any better because that is the way that we've been brought up, to the way of thinking. And if you can consider that there are, or at least, like I said, once you start gaining the concepts of conscious intelligence, you get perspective, you can't unsee that. It's like, I just saw a different perspective. You can't go back and put your goggles back on, your blinders on. Once you've seen it, you've seen like what is outside those walls, you can't unsee it. And that is what's so powerful about how your life will transform with perspective, with the capital P. And that's what conscious intelligence is.
That's so good.
And
what does it mean to be a catalytic leader, and how does one become one?
So the old school way of thinking about leadership is like that general, that barking orders and you're going to do this 10 hut, and and push, and power comes from pushing people down and oppressing them or using force, whether it's physical force or other types of force. Catalytic leadership is rooted in the exact opposite, which is I gain more power by empowering others. And if you look at the way that you run an organization, if you are empowering your employees and your colleagues to be able to perform optimally, what does that do? It makes the company perform optimally. And what does that make you? That makes you incredibly a successful CEO of a very successful company. By the way, with people that love what they're doing and get along and are working well with each other. So catalytic leadership literally turns that oppressive power. Matter of fact, oppression through force is the weakest form of power that there is. The bully on the playground resulting on size, bravado, and fear is the weakest form of power that there is. The most powerful is to literally stand, I like to say, like, stand naked with nothing and have everybody surrounding you lifting you up because you've lifted them up. And everybody knows, has had that mentor or that parent or somebody in their life that said, you can do this when you didn't believe it yourself. And they go, I got you. I got your back, but you can do this. And if they came to you today, it's that mentor, that person that you're just like, that was your luminary. And if they came to you today and said, I need your help, you would drop everything. You would drop everything and say, what do you need me to do? And that's power. Empowering somebody, because there's gratitude in that, and there is right? I mean, I think you feel it. I think everybody feels that. Yeah, I would drop anything to help that person. I'm so grateful.
So this is not limited to the business world, of course.
Of course not. I mean, catalytic, none of it is. I mean, one of the other things that business is personal. If there's just a mess going on at home, who are you coming to? What are you bringing to work?
Yeah.
You're tired, you're stressed, you're upset,
Yeah.
what kind of performance are you going to have? Likewise, if everything is hitting the fan at work and everything's just going sideways, what are you bringing home to your spouse, to your kids? Are you going to have energy to play with your kids? Are you going to have energy to go out and socialize and be in the community? No. So they're not unrelated. And that's why we talk about work-life, not balance now. It's work-life integration and the ability to be able to have that balance in your life and work, because business is personal and personal is business. And what did I say earlier? A company is about people. The whole function. I don't care if you have a perfect plan and all the titles and all the organized org chart is all good, but the people are not connecting and working together and loving what they do. You don't have anything if you don't have the connection with the people, and that they're human beings. That means that they have lives outside of work.
Yeah. Well, that's really good.
Yep.
Couple of last questions, and these are longer answers too. What's a lesson that you've learned recently, and recently could be 12, 24 months, just not 20 years ago, something that you want to share that you've learned recently?
I'll tell you one.
Yeah.
I could sometimes be disappointed in some of humanity, and I catch myself getting down on that because I'm looking at trying to live my life in such a way that serves. And part of conscious intelligence is to be able to have the temperance to say, just because you think a certain way doesn't mean that you have to expect everybody. Just because you set the bar here doesn't mean that everybody else is supposed to get over it. And I'm not saying that I'm better or higher or anything
I don't hear that.
else.
Yeah, good.
But there's a level of standard that when you're serving so many people in life and you're doing that as your lifestyle, and you're not doing it to expect anything back. But then it's just like one extra thing in humanity today didn't even get close to that bar that you thought might come back, or I can get disappointed in humanity, and I start becoming. So the lesson that I'm constantly learning is to exhale and understand that. Again, that quote that you said earlier, we cannot control our circumstances. I can only control me and how I'm conducting myself within those circumstances. It's just, look, I'm a human being. Jesus, sometimes I like, can I get some help here?
Yeah.
Can I get an amen from somebody here? So that is a learning. Sometimes it's testing your patience and testing your ability to just keep giving, even though sometimes, I'm an athlete, you don't quit, but darn it, there's also an Eastern quote, fall down 7 times, get up 8. It doesn't mean that you're not getting your, out there, and to brush yourself off and to continue just to get up and run, keep going, because
that's good. That's so good.
That finish line, or at least that checkpoint, might be just an inch away, and you are going to throw it in and go, I have no more.
Yeah.
So it comes back to the athlete. It comes back to my hope and my altruistic hope in humanity, that there's more people that want to serve. And that's why I would give away for free my book for everybody to learn. I want the whole world to take a course on that, because it has to do with understanding another and understanding that we're all connected.
That's good.
So that's the lesson.
All right. Last question. That's an awesome answer, by the way. Better than I would have thought. Why should who in the listening and viewing audiences should reach out to you, and why?
If you are stuck or feel like you're getting in your own way, or there are challenges that continue to come up that are and you might be going, you know what, I can't get anybody to do, them. And you stop and you take a look in the mirror and go, maybe there's part of me in this. Is there something that I can do? Again, conflict in the workplace, conflict comes from growth. It comes from our progress, and it comes from the ability, our drive. If there's no conflict, then you're probably not an A-type, and you're probably not driving to grow. And if you're not growing, you're shrinking, because in a world that is so dynamic, you have to keep growing in order to keep up and stay with the current. So if there is challenges within other people, within a company, within trying to level up, you're having growing problems. There's probably a Salesforce thing about development. So I'm bringing Kevin in. Also, it's like, well, let's evolve your sales team as well. But let's get the leadership, the catalytic leadership, adjusted, and to keep your eye on the prize, and to get out of your own way. That's when you think of me to come in. I'm a peer. You're not broken. You don't need fixing. There's an evolution. Even in the Navy SEAL training, they call it's your next evolution, because once you develop some of these skills and develop perspective with a capital P, you're evolving. And once you evolve, it doesn't matter what happens. You can't unsee it. You can't unlearn it. And it will push you forward, and it'll open up the opportunities that you want to be able to gain the success and that trajectory that you so badly are on, wanting to achieve.
That's awesome.
So I would say, think of me when you're that and you want that.
Well, we are out of time. Thank you. That went fast. Thank you very much, Eric. Yeah, it goes quickly. You're spot on. I love what you're saying.
Well,
so
Kevin,
thank you for the time.
You're a great host, and I appreciate the conversation. Thank you, the opportunity.
You're welcome again, by the way. And thanks everybody for watching and listening. This is a show about business and life too, but business challenges. If you've got concerns about the growth of your company, maybe we should talk. You can drop me a note at kevin@winningbusinessradio.com is one of my email addresses. We are Winning Incorporated, part of Sandler Training. We develop sales teams into high achievers and sales leaders into true coaches and mentors. Thank you, producer and engineer Juan, for another job well done. Thank you, Juan. Be sure to join us next week. That's Monday, October 21st. My guest will be George Rolfing, owner of Specialty Moving Company, BTI. Until then, this is Kevin Hallinan.
You've been listening to Winning Business Radio with your host, Kevin Hallinan. If you missed any part of this episode, the podcast is available on Talk4 Podcasting and iHeartRadio. For more information and questions, go to winningbusinessradio.com or check us out on social media. Tune in again next week and every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time to listen live to Winning Business Radio on W4CY Radio, W4CY.com. Until then, let's succeed where others have failed and win in business with Kevin Hallinan and Winning Business Radio.